Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Let's go. I think you know what we're going to talk about on the James Show today. Hunter Biden gets a pardon. Man, that guy has lived a life, hasn't he? Is there anybody, he has had more fun than me. I can tell you that. He's had more fun than you, too. Think about it. All the drugs that he's got to do, never going to jail, all the hookers that he got to have, never going to jail. He goes overseas and goes on all these cool trips and gets to fly on private jets and Air Force One and meet all these important people, from the mayor of Moscow to Chinese oligarchs who are giving him a $3 million emerald or whatever the hell. And gets away with it all. Gets to run around just waving guns in the air, throwing them in trash cans at strip malls, and lying on gun forms. I love guns. I'd love to be able to just run around and get guns whenever I want and squeeze off rounds and not have to follow the laws. Wouldn't that be great? Now, I'm not that interested in smoking crack, but I can tell you that's more fun than prepping for a show. That's more fun than me watching Mike Train and doing the news across the glass here. However, I have some questions about this that you probably have too. And my first guest is going to help me with them. Jeremy Rosenthal is back on the James Show from TexasDefenseFirm.com. Let me start with some of my basic layman questions that I imagine you already expect. Number one, the way this pardon is written is like a blanket pardon for a time frame. I thought you could just be pardoned for like specific crimes.
The Constitution is very vague about what suffices for a pardon, and it is very broad and it is very expansive. I don't know that we've seen anything quite this broad since Gerald Ford pardoned Richard Nixon. The reason for that, you could argue, would be, well, we don't know exactly what you might charge him with, but we know that he's been up to a bunch of no good. Let's just put the matter to rest. And that's the nature of the broad language. You can also pardon, and this is neither here nor there, but you can also pardon a group of people, right? The Vietnam draft dodgers, if you will. So you can make some you can do them. I hesitate to use the word creatively, but the Constitution is very vague about the president's power to pardon.
Yeah, I'm glad you went there, because right here in my notes, I copied and pasted the one sentence, and it's a really long sentence, in the Constitution where it mentions the power to pardon. Article 2, Section 2. Sorry for the extra words. I just want to put it all in context. The president shall be commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and the militia of several states when called in the actual service of the United States. Semicolon. He may require the opinion in writing of the principal officer in each of the executive departments upon any subject relating to the duties of their respective offices, comma, and he shall have the power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment. Now, I think Miss Cooper from 8th grade would call that a run-on sentence, but what does that mean in layman's language?
It means Hunter Biden is pardoned and is free. I mean, the Supreme Court has weighed in from time to time on certain pardons. Sometimes they become relevant. It's very rare. For instance, we know that when a pardon has to be accepted, right? If and this is a legitimate question. Let's say, for argument's sake, Joe Biden wanted to pardon. Let's say he wanted to pardon Donald Trump or John Kelly preemptively, and Donald Trump says, "I'm good. I don't need this, but thanks anyway," or "No thanks." So we know that by what the Supreme Court has said, that a pardon has to be accepted. We also know what the Supreme Court says about the time duration of a pardon, that it's not prospective, that it cannot go forward. Right. We don't know what it says about pardoning yourself. That's the question that we've all had. If Trump gets in office, could he pardon himself? That's another reason why Joe Biden might do it for him. Who knows if that happens.
My next question was looking the other direction. On his last day out, can Joe Biden pardon himself?
Sure, he could try, and then if it came down to a court proceeding, the Supreme Court would have to weigh in on it. In theory, he could try. I mean, the way that the Constitution works, I mean, it's fun for Hunter Biden might be squeezing off rounds and doing meth and whatever. Fun for Jeremy is like nerding out on the language of the Constitution and reading old books about Abraham Lincoln and stuff like that.
Sure.
The Emancipation Proclamation, right? President Lincoln didn't know if that would work. He didn't. There was no precedent for it at the time that he did it. It was an executive action. That's why he thought it was really important to ratify the 13th and 14th Amendments to the U.S. Constitution. So when we talk about these really broad things, we don't know it until the courts come back. Same thing with the Trump immunity challenge that we had this last summer. We now have a much clearer idea of what the executive can and cannot be prosecuted for the sole reason that it went up to the Supreme Court and they told us.
It feels like this is an admission of guilt, that there's a lot more going on here than he's been charged with. I think everyone sees that, but I don't think anyone has the answer on whether or not it's going to be covered.
I think that, okay, so first off, let's say that Congress wanted to go back and let's say they wanted to go back and impeach Joe Biden. Legally, they could try to do that from the same time period that Joe Biden just pardoned Hunter for. Now, there's been an impeachment inquiry already that didn't recommend anything. But in theory, you could have something impeachable in that time, make sure Joe Biden never runs for president again, although I don't think anybody thinks that's happening. But it would essentially deaden or make radioactive anything that Hunter Biden did in that time frame. So in essence, I think the counter argument is going to be, look, we just want to put this thing to bed. You have nominated some people, Mr. Trump, that keep me up at night as a parent to this person, and that's why I think we need to be done with this. That's what I think Joe Biden's argument would be. Again, it does. I do think it puts us in a place where a year from now we're not talking about what Hunter Biden was doing in Ukraine in 2016.
All right, I got one more question, but we only have like 30 seconds left. Real quick, has anybody ever done this before where they're like, whatever this dude's done for the last 10 years, I don't care if y'all find dead hookers in his basement or whatever, just for the last decade, he's pardoned for whatever happens. Do we know if that's ever happened before?
I believe the way that the Nixon pardon was similar, and I believe it was any crime that he committed again. And I'd have to go back and check, so you got me guessing here. But I believe it's something to the effect of any crime against the United States for this time period is forgiven. And that was a function of just not knowing what was – Nixon was not under indictment at the time that he resigned office. It was only possible that he could get prosecuted. So the best thing to do is just let's wipe it all out.
Good deal. All right, Jeremy Rosenthal, thank you very much. TexasDefenseFirm.com is his website, and I'm sure I'll have you on soon to talk more law stuff.
All right, thank you, James.
Thank you. It's funny because you see with the headline, Joe Biden pardons Hunter, you go online, you're like, oh, this is great. This is driving all the right-wingers crazy. This is driving all the MAGA crazy. They're foaming at the mouth. No, we're not. We think this is hilarious. We knew this was coming. We're not surprised. You think I'm upset? I think this is fantastic because what we have now is the poster child for privilege. You know, we're always being lectured to about white privilege or male privilege or whatever privilege we got there. Is there anyone who's had a more privileged life in American history than this dude? And by privilege, I mean he lives the gap between the lifestyle he deserves and the lifestyle he gets to enjoy is probably the greatest. Like the mismatch between because we all kind of understand not social justice but regular justice is when the outcome sort of matches the work you put into it. You know, it's the people that work harder, the people that, you know, stay in school and study and get good grades. It kind of makes sense that the rich will keep richer and the poor will keep getting poorer if they keep making terrible decisions, if they keep smoking crack, if they keep, you know, philandering and knocking up random strippers from Arkansas. You know, things are going to continue to be tough. But for this guy, he can do anything he wants. He can go to the Navy and get kicked out for cocaine, not get in trouble for it, not get arrested for it, not go to jail for it. Meanwhile, our relatives, I mean, I have to go visit my uncle in jail for half the stuff. He didn't do hardly any of the things compared to what Hunter Biden did. You've had to probably go visit some of your relatives in jail or at least go pick them up from jail. This guy never gets arrested for anything. You get arrested for 4 beers after a football game driving home. This guy, he can run around. How much crack can one man smoke on camera before he catches a drug charge? I'm almost dying laughing about the whole situation because of all the stuff this dude was charged with, it's stuff I don't care about. I really, it's funny seeing the crack in the hookers and whatever. That doesn't concern me. Pardon him for all of that. The thing I'm concerned about is he was receiving millions of dollars, buying influence from his dad, including when he was president of the United States and when he was vice president of the United States and the time in between. I'm kind of concerned about the bribery. I'm also kind of concerned about the injustice of it, because that if that was your son on video, he wouldn't be walking right now, a free man. At some point, he'd at least have handcuffs put on him. And think about all the people that get in trouble. We just had like 4 or 5 stings this year where they're busting all these prostitutes and they're busting all these Johns and they're busting like the massage parlors or the back room at some, I don't know. There's people getting busted for playing poker behind a steakhouse. There's people that are getting busted every day for having a bag of weed, or all the meth heads that get picked up every day. This guy is like the least punished guy. What does he do? He goes out and just gets millions of dollars, smokes crack with prostitutes and illegal guns, throwing guns away in the trash can of strip malls. And he's had a good time. You saw him, what was it, last year when he went to the White House and he was clearly tweaked out on camera and he was all twitching around and messing with his face. And you're like, man, this guy's like, what, 50-something? And he's still just banged out on coke at like 1:30 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. This guy is having a blast, but he still gets to ride around in private jets. See, he had like a $15,000 a week rental in California that we learned from some of these other charges. And then he gets to like knock up a beautiful girl and then deny paternity. And, would have got away with it if it hadn't been for you snooping kids. And then you can fast forward to sort of what's going on these days. Leaving a bag of cocaine in the White House. And not getting in trouble for it. Everyone just sweeps it under the rug. They're like, oh, we may never know whose bag of cocaine that was. It was Hunter's. How about the guy who's on cocaine right now? How about the guy like you've watched hours and hours of this dude smoking cocaine, running around in his drawer, sometimes butt naked. He's got a feather boa with a crack pipe hanging out of his lips and pulling some prostitute's hair. And look, this guy getting the pardon. We're not concerned about the social stuff. We're also concerned about a couple other angles here. Number one is there's a lot more going on behind the scenes here. We know that if he's like, yeah, I'm going to pardon him for these crimes and anything else that might have happened from, 2014 until yesterday? So we know there's a bigger thing. We know there's a bigger crime. Look, there's a criminal organization. There's a criminal enterprise of some sort. And you can tell by the way they worded it. And it started in 2014. Who got a job at Burisma in 2014? Oh, yeah, that's right. Hunter Biden. This confirms all that. This also confirms how dishonest the media has been about this coverage. And also, I'm going to play you a montage coming up in a couple segments. I got a lot to get to before that. I just want to I want to get the exposition out, and then we'll start crafting the next step. Of all these conclusions that people were making, they're like, well, if Joe Biden is pardoning Hunter, that means, and then they were making all kinds of like, this is the logical step. Well, this undoes all those. If Joe Biden's pardoning Hunter, that means he's protecting the justice system. That means he has respect for the rule of law. That means the DOJ isn't politicized. That means the DOJ isn't weaponized. That means he has self-restraint. That means he's a decent man. A pardon wouldn't be dangerous. He respects the system. Trump wouldn't do this. Trump's not honorable. Trump would abuse his power to benefit his family. Biden wouldn't. Well, all that just got turned on its head. Hunter Biden gets pardoned by his dad. We are not shocked. This is one of the easiest predictions that was made over and over and over on the James Show. And I heard people saying on Casey's show, and I heard Chris Crock saying, pretty sure it was on the morning show, although I try not to wake up that early. I do sometimes. But no, not shocked at all. Not shocked at all. And we knew when people were saying, oh, they're not going to pardon him. We knew that y'all were going to be proven wrong. And damn, I hate to be right again, but it does kind of feel good to be right again.
I said I abide by the jury decision. I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
Letting the world know that he will not wipe away the decision of 12 of his son's peers.
Was asked directly, and he has said he wouldn't pardon his son if he gets convicted.
He's going to get pardoned by his dad. There's no question about that.
The president has ruled out pardoning his son.
Major commitment from the president, accepting the outcome of the trial and also pledging not to pardon his son.
So the challenge for him is really to continue to live up to his values when it was really personal, and he did that today.
The contrast is profound. One side Democrats and Joe Biden protecting the justice system, and on the other, Republicans and Trump protecting Trump.
A current president of the United States has so much respect for the law that he has said he would not pardon his son. I mean, what? Yeah. It's all about the contrast.
Wow.
President Biden saying, I will respect whatever this jury decides. Versus Donald Trump after he was convicted on 34 counts, saying the entire system is rigged against him.
How stark is this difference? I mean, how can Republicans keep making this argument now that Joe Biden has really put it out there?
He is not pardoning his son. He is not doing it because he is living what it means to have a rule of law.
He's gotten asked if he would pardon his son. He has said no. On the other side, you've got Donald Trump, who has said that he will pardon the January 6th insurrectionists. Yeah. They're not even his sons. They're just sons of
He did not pardon his son. So impressive.
You heard the president say he would accept the outcome of the case. I know no other word for that, but presidential.
That's how much respect he has for the system.
It was a moment of just moral clarity on the part of Joe Biden, and couldn't have been starker contrast to the way Donald Trump has handled his own.
In a million years, if the shoe were on the other foot, would that have happened?
One political party remains committed to the rule of law, and the other doesn't.
Joe Biden has already proven he's willing to stand up for the rule of law in a way that we could all never imagine Donald Trump to do.
He's in effect saying, I don't think that I don't have a right, even if it's legal, and God knows it must be tempting to use this power in a way that is not available to so many other Americans facing similar kinds of struggles.
Those words so completely contrast with what his opponent, now a convicted felon himself, continues to say about the U.S. courts.
The contrast.
Please
the contrast.
The contrast is profound.
Yeah, you can tell I made that a lot shorter than it otherwise could have been. I love the contrast argument, because when they said that Donald Trump was a convicted felon and Hunter Biden was also, he's getting convicted and not going to get a pardon or everything. You fast forward, what's going on today? The cases against Trump are going away, except for the one that they're delaying the sentencing till after the fact over there. But most of them have gone away, and so have Hunter's. You guys, we're not just wrong. Like, you're making all kinds of extrapolations. Well, because Joe Biden's pardoning his son, that means he cares for the rule of law. Well, since he pardoned his son, does that mean he no longer cares for the rule of law? Does that mean there's no longer a stark contrast? Does that mean he's no longer protecting the justice system? Because you said him pardoning Hunter meant he's protecting the justice. Not pardoning Hunter means he's protecting the justice system. But since there's a pardon, does this mean he's not protecting the justice system? He doesn't have respect for the rule of law? Does this mean the DOJ is politicized? Does this mean he's not a decent man? Is this dangerous? Is this unpresidential? He doesn't have respect for law and order? Trump wouldn't do this. 800-288-9227. The other question is, why now? Why not wait like 6 weeks? Because that's the norm. You don't get a whole lot of pardons on December 1st for a lame duck. Is he in such bad health that he's not going to make it? Is something else about to come up? Is someone about to spill the beans? Was Hunter about to spill the beans? Did Hunter force his hand and like, look, if you don't give me my pardon now, I'm going to start talking? I don't know. 800-288-9227. Larry in Ovilla, you're on WBAP. What do you think about Hunter's pardon?
Yeah, given Hunter Biden's past and his track record, it's kind of clear to me that they pardoned him now to give him 6 weeks to do whatever he wants to do. And then Joe can pardon him again on January 19th or 20th. It's the best get-out-of-jail-free card I've ever heard of.
Well, if you're going to do it again, why do it the first time?
Oh, no, it's perfect. Because now he's pardoned for everything he's done in the past, and he's going to get pardoned for everything he's going to do in the future up to January 20th.
What do you think he's going to do now? What's left? They've got all the money they need. I mean, and I don't know, smoke more crack?
That is the $64,000 question, if you ask me. But he can do anything he wants to do.
Well, Larry,
he will get a pardon for it.
Why don't you have all the answers to these very difficult questions? Thank you, sir. I appreciate you calling in, Larry. 800-288-9227. This means Karine Jean-Pierre, when she was all condescending and sneering down her nose, like, can y'all quit asking me if Biden's going to pardon Hunter? We've already said no like 1,000 times. Wish y'all just shut up, Dad. That's what I hear.
From a presidential perspective, is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No. I just said no. I just answered.
The president would not pardon or commute sentence for his son, Hunter. I just want to make sure that that is not going to change over the next 6 months. The president's saying he would not.
It's still a no. It's still a no.
It will always be.
It's still a no. It will be a no. It is a no, and I don't have anything else to add. Will he pardon his son? No.
His son, Hunter, is also up for being sentenced next month. Does the president have any intention of pardoning him?
We've been asked that question multiple times. Our answer stands, which is no.
President Biden says that he's not going to pardon his son, Hunter. Is he going to ask Donald Trump to do that?
I don't have anything else to share about that. I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole on this. I've been very clear. The president's been very clear when we've been asked this question.
You can just hear her rolling her eyes. You can hear her disgust. God, how dare you question your betters? 800-288-9227. Hunter pardoned. Does this mean the J6ers are pretty much guaranteed a pardon? Does this mean that there's something more going on than just these two little piddly tax and gun crimes? Your thoughts? 800-288-9227, because the timing is weird. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. 800-288-9227. Also, blessedbethefruit.org, your home for Project 2025 implementation. And single women of childbearing age, you must register your uterus for selective service. And don't worry, you'll be able to use your registration card for discounts on great products like Meow Mix, Chick-fil-A, and kitchen utensils. Register today at blessedbethefruit.org. I love that. Coming up next, we'll talk to Stephen Moore from the Heritage Foundation on what's going on with the economy on The James Show. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Sports fans, if you don't already have the Prize Picks app, you mixed one of the greatest weekends ever to use it. Between the return of the greatest rivalry in Texas college football to all the great NFL action that was going on, then there was hockey and there was basketball, other sports. Prize Picks has them all covered with America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. It's not what you think if you're thinking this is like the fantasy football league that you got into with some of your coworkers a few years ago. Nope. It's just you and a couple of players, 2 to 4, 2 to 6, maybe, guys you put in your lineup. You look at their stat line, and then you just say more or less. And if you get them all right, you're going to be a very happy camper. If you choose flex play, maybe you just have to get 3 out of 4 right, and you win some money. So go check it out. Download it with your first $5 play. I'm telling you, use code WBAP. That's your promo code, WBAP, like the station, WBAP. And with your first $5 play, you get $50 in bonus cash that you can play with and turn into real money. That's what I did, and I'm very happy with it. Prize Picks. Run your game. Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Joe Biden pardons Hunter. I think this solidifies him as the most privileged person in American history. You know, I think people have gotten away with worse crimes. You know, obviously, Jeffrey Epstein. But you haven't seen hours and hours and hours of Jeffrey Epstein on video committing his crimes. We don't have the documented evidence over and over and over. But listen, there's so many things that come out of this that you could just turn around and point in different directions. Number one, why now? Why not do it January 19th? Why, is Joe Biden in such horrible physical condition that he may die before he gets this done? Is that part of it? I doubt it, but maybe. I don't know. They've lied about everything else. Also, what's with the 11-year blanket period from January 1st, 2014 until right now, until December 1st, until yesterday? What's up with that? Can you even do that? Has anyone ever done that before? The closest analog we had from a previous guest, Jeremy Rosenthal, started the show off from TexasDefenseFirm.com. He said when Nixon got his pardon from Ford, it was for any crimes associated with the whole Watergate scandal, even though he hadn't been indicted and charged with anything yet. So we do have precedent for being pardoned for crimes that you hadn't been charged with. But we don't have a precedent just for like, hey, for the last 11 years, whatever he did, whatever y'all dig up in the future, forget it. He's pardoned for that too. Even things we don't know about. Even if you find 18 dead hookers in his crawl space under his house. No, he's going to be pardoned for all that. I don't think we have a precedent for that. But I have a bunch of questions, and I'm going to start asking them, and I want to hear some answers from you. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Because another way you could point at this is the way this is written, the time stamp, it looks like Joe Biden is not pardoning Hunter as much as Joe Biden is pardoning himself. Because if there's never anything to look into for that entire 11-year span, how is he going to get busted? What's the excuse to go look through the financial records and find, hey, look, remember all these checks that were coming into Hunter? And then there was some big $250,000 check. Like we've seen even the imprint of the check, how they scan it when you turn it into the bank and they put it on your statement. I have that. I can send you the JPEG of the check that was cleared from Hunter Biden to his dad for $250,000 right after an oligarch from the Ukraine put a bunch of money in his account. It's the damnedest thing. We have the records. However, how can we open up an investigation into it if they've all been just now closed? Well, that's too suspicious. Of course, you and I both know it was bribes, if not flat out extortion. You and I both know it was illegal peddling of influence. You and I both know that Hunter Biden has no business being on the board of Burisma. And we both know that it's not just a coincidence that he had gotten millions of dollars from Burisma. And then what happened? Donald Trump gets impeached for a call to the Ukrainian president. And then after that, there's a war where all of a sudden we have to give around $260 billion of your dollars to the Ukrainians. I believe in coincidences, but I'm not stupid. That's way too big to be a coincidence. Give me a break. And I agree with you. I don't care so much about the hookers and the blow and the guns. In fact, the libertarian part of me, it's a good weekend for a libertarian. I mean, not me, but if that's what you're into, go ahead, knock yourself out. I like to not get addicted to drugs, and I do squeeze off some rounds of guns quite often. Prostitutes would probably be frowned upon by Miss Parker, but hey, hi, Miss Parker. It's not for me, but I don't judge. Go ahead. I'm concerned about the bribes. I'm also concerned about the fact that if it happened to your son, he wouldn't get a pardon. We've heard from Black Lives Matter for the last God knows how many years about how the system is rigged and there's these privileged people that get away with crimes that other people don't. Well, here you go. Aim your ire there. Are y'all gonna riot? You're gonna block a highway? Oh no. Oh, it doesn't fit the narrative. Oh, you weren't actually concerned about the well-being of my black neighbors. You were just exploiting their previous suffering for current political gain. That's ugly. Couple other takeaways. Number one, no one in the media better complain for 1 second when the January 6ers get all their pardons. I mean, I think this almost guarantees that. And this also puts in, just lays it out on the table that apparently some people are above the law. Hunter Biden, he's the privileged one.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
Nobody is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
Nobody is above the law.
No one 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 is above the law.
Son of a bitch.
So for the last 11 years, sorry, I just put the fart in there for fun. For the last 11 years, we just had a piece of paper floated out by your president that says Hunter Biden's above the law. No matter what we find, he's above the law. He can't be held accountable for anything illegal he's done. That is the ultimate above the law. It's not even a specific pardon, like he's off the hook for this murder, for knocking over a liquor store, for cheating on his taxes, or for this gun crime. Just a whole 11-year, whatever he did, he's cool. So then, coming up next, I want you to hear from a guy. He's a local guy. He's a Dallas guy, but he's on one of these second-tier cable networks that I'm really growing an affinity for, Real America's Voice. His name's Grant Stinchfield. I'm going to play you about 90 seconds of his reply to it. And I just, I was going to say half of this anyway, but he added a little bit to it. And it's going to make you go, because Grant Stinchfield says Biden will pardon more than Hunter. And you'll hear who he thinks is going to be pardoned next. Who do you think is going to be pardoned next? You think it stops here? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. We'll hear from Grant Stinchfield, and I want to hear from you too coming up next on The James Show. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. All right, I've done a lot of talking. I want to hear some other people's thoughts on Joe Biden pardoning Hunter. You guys on hold, hang on a second. Give me 90 seconds to play a guy who's a Dallas native, small business owner, but he came across my radar because he's on Real America's Voice. Of course, he has his own podcast, but his name's Grant Stinchfield. You've probably heard, I don't know, maybe if you're flipping through, you've seen him before or seen some of his videos virally online. But I liked his take on it. Instead of just parroting it, I'll give him proper credit and play the 90 seconds that made me say, this morning.
Hunter Biden will not be the only one pardoned by Joe Biden. So it's no surprise Joe lied that he wouldn't pardon Hunter Biden. Well, we knew he would, and he did. Here's the next one to be pardoned. James Biden, Joe Biden's brother. And after that, on the day before Joe Biden leaves office, Joe Biden will pardon himself. Because the real deal in all of this is the Biden family corruption, not these penny ante cases against Hunter Biden. Yeah, income tax evasion is serious. The gun charge, filling out the form, most people don't go to jail for that, even though Democrats are supposed to be big, strong on gun laws, right?
Right.
But the Biden family corruption, what will happen with that? Biden has no choice but to pardon himself and his brother. He's already pardoned Hunter, as he should, by the way. He exploited Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden is a drug-addicted sex fiend who his father, for money, sent to the wolves, the most evil, powerful men on earth that would eat Hunter Biden alive. But in the name of the Biden family fortune, Joe Biden sent his son packing, come back with the cash, the bag man. So of course Joe Biden pardoned him, as any good father would. But mark my words, the next pardons will be James Biden and then Joe Biden himself.
Oh, well done. That's Grant Stinchfield from Real America's Voice. This is Philip in Temple. Your thoughts on the Hunter Biden pardon?
Yes. I was trying to research this and complete it prior to speaking with you, but I did find out that there's connections with and receipts on Biden financial activity going back to 2009. And I'm wondering, with the incoming majority, Senate and the House investigative committees, if this was to stop somehow of bringing in Hunter Biden for questioning or tying him in to get more information about Joe Biden.
Well, I don't know 100% for sure, but 2 days ago, I didn't know 100% for sure that Hunter Biden was going to get a pardon, but we all kind of knew he did. We all kind of know that that's what this is about. We all kind of know that's why he didn't name some specific crimes or even specific genres or categories of crimes. It was anything he's done in the last 11 years. You can't look into it. So yeah, this is him covering not for his son, it's covering for himself. So how are we going to look into Burisma? How are we going to look into all the money trails that were going back between the Chinese oligarchs and Hunter, the jewels that were given to Hunter, the Serbians that were throwing money to Hunter, the mayor of Moscow that was throwing money to Hunter, the guy from Kazakhstan that was throwing money to Hunter, and it wasn't Borat. So yeah, of course that's what he's trying to do, Philip. You see it, I see it. That's the craziest thing about the media is they just get up there and they're like, jeepers, I don't know what this could be about. And they just get everything so wrong. You think they would start questioning their worldview at some point. And to their credit, a lot of them have. It's like the Joe Rogans and Elon Musk and sort of like the Ricky Gervais, Russell Brand. There's a whole lot of people who have sort of softened up and said that the left has gone too far. I'm just wondering when the common voter is going to see it, because I still see too many people online who are just team blue no matter who.
What about some of the directors of like the FBI, Christopher Wray, Mayorkas? Could those be possible people that are pardoned?
Well, the problem with that is they haven't been charged with anything. They haven't been investigated for anything. They haven't even really been accused of anything other than loudmouths like me just spitting it on a microphone out there. But I mean, you're risking the Streisand effect here, which is kind of what he did. Do you know what I'm talking? Garrett, do you know what the Streisand effect is?
I haven't heard it before, no.
Okay, so Philip doesn't know, Garrett doesn't know. So Barbara Streisand sued Google Maps because her house was in Google Maps and she didn't want people to know where she lived. And so the lawsuit made headlines and everyone's like, oh, where does Barbara Streisand live? What's so important about her house that she's suing for it? And so now millions of people looked up where Barbara Streisand lives. They know what her house looks like. They know where her walls are. So her attempt to hide her location just blew it up right into the spotlight. And so that's what they risk with pardons. I'm going to pardon Christopher Wray. The whole world would be like, for what? Or half the world would be like, for what? The other half would be like, hey, that's great. Anything you say, I'm with you. Oh, good master. As long as I can have my abortions, just do whatever.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very
hey,
much.
great call. Thank you, Philip and Temple. This is Mike in Fort Worth. You're on WBAP. Your thoughts on Hunter pardon?
Good afternoon. Well, first, he will pardon any Biden family that Comer has found may have received money, which would be about 12 family members. He will probably pardon Barack Obama, who knowingly let him do what he did with Burisma, and then about a day before his office expires, he will appoint Kamala Harris to president to allow her to pardon him. End of story. Biden family clean.
That is an excellent 30 seconds of audio you just gave me, Mike. Yeah, you're right. You're right. He has to go through, and if he's gonna clean this up and sort of cover his tracks, he would have to cover. It really is like a dozen different people that got money from him. That's a good point. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot, Mike in Fort Worth. Maybe you can fill in for me next time I'm out.
I'll take care.
All right, thank you very much. And you'll notice, Garrett, how many people filled in for me this year when I was off? Yeah, that's right. None. Your host took 0 days off this year. Will the streak continue through the end of the year? Will I do 365? Well, I guess 52 weeks. Will I do 52 weeks of shows in a row? We'll see. But no, that's exactly the kind of prescient analysis I'm looking for. And go watch CNN. Some dude in Fort Worth and some dude in Temple just gave you more insight on what this means and what you can expect over the next 6 weeks than anything that's going to come out of MSNBC or CNN. Remember, they were telling you that, well, I believe him. He says he's not going to pardon him, and this means he's such a great guy. I have some more exposing audio from the past. Well, I guess it can't be from the future, but from the Audiotron 3000, I was going through the archives, and some of the other things that were said about these pardons and some of the other things that were said about these situations, well, they get flipped on their head when this pardon happens. And I don't forget, they'll be exposed coming up on the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. All right, so this could be Best of My Love. That's Not My Baby Daddy. And what's the new one that came out like this year? I don't even know what to do, thing, girl, like, no, you a little boo thing. Yeah, a little boo thing. That's what I was trying to think of. Yeah, music reviews on the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I am your host, James Parker, having a blast over this Joe Biden pardoning Hunter. Has there ever been a more privileged person in American history than Hunter Biden? Train Spotting, I thought was damn near a documentary, and that was teaching me and people that you dedicate your life to drugs, you're not gonna enjoy the result. Well, it doesn't apply to Hunter Biden. He's the only guy that can just run around the most hedonistic lifestyle possible since a Roman emperor with no negative consequences. Crack, hookers, guns, bribes, money, jewels, fancy cars, private jets. That dude has lived a life, not had to go to jail for 1 second for it. You've gone to jail for more times for your DUI. January 6ers all did more jail time than Hunter. Hilarious. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. All you people who gripe about privilege, where are you at today? Matthew in Fort Worth, you're on the James Show on WBAP. What do you think about the Hunter pardon?
Yes, sir. Well, we all knew he was going to do it.
Yes, of course.
Everybody has known him from the earlier in his career to know what he was. But I was listening to a lawyer earlier, and he touched on something I haven't heard anybody else talk about. And Joe Biden has probably just messed up because he didn't think straight here. When they give him immunity, give Hunter Biden immunity, that wipes out self-incrimination. So that takes away the fifth. So if he's compelled to testify, he can't use the fifth, and he can sit in jail on contempt until he's forced to testify.
Matt, I don't know enough to have a strong opinion on that either way, but I like the way that sounds, Matthew. I'm sorry, I'm just uneducated in such things, but I hope you're correct. That sounds cool. I'm down with that.
Yeah, I'm down with that too. But yeah, if he wiped out his self-incrimination, then he doesn't have that to fall on. And if he's compelled to testify against somebody, which would be the big guy, if he doesn't, they can find him in contempt and he'll sit in that jail until he does. But that's all I had to say.
I love what you had to say, Matthew in Fort Worth. If you want to be next, 800-288-9227, because that got me excited, because the next thing I'm playing for you is some audio from the guy who's going to be your next FBI director should he go through the nomination process. The fellow's name is Kash Patel. And thank you, Matthew in Fort Worth. The guy's name is Kash Patel. Now, I have seen him sparingly. He's been the guest on a couple of podcasts, and I've seen some clips from those floated around. So I'm not going to act like I know this guy and know that this is an awesome pick. Here's what I do know. People that I trust, people that have voiced their opinions on things in the past and proven to be true more often than not, say great things about this guy. And the same people that were telling you that the Hunter Biden laptop was fake and Biden isn't demented and inflation is transitory and you need to wear a mask and there's P-tapes and Russian collusions and verifying people quoting kids in cages, they're all telling you that this guy's terrible. So he must be really good. So I went and dug some stuff up, a couple of things that he said specifically about the FBI, the agency that he might be heading here in about, 6 weeks, 7 weeks? Oh, that'd be great. Here's a couple clips. Number one, Kash Patel isn't a fan of the FBI. He thinks it's totally corrupt. Oh, good. I like the sound of this.
Culture of Comey and McCabe. Abate is Deputy Director's former Andy McCabe's basically FBI kid. And he is going to cover up for the Bureau. And they have already shown their hatred towards Donald Trump and his movement by the unlawful searches of 275,000 Americans using the FISA process. Yep. A bunch of it was targeted at Trump supporters. So they have no credibility. They lie all the time in Congress because Congress lets them get away with it. And at fault there partly is the Republican majority for not bringing them up on contempt of Congress charges for everything from their statements about domestic terrorism to being on the rise to Christopher Wray, the top cop in the country who doesn't know what a bullet is when it's fired at a president's head, is just disgustingly political and another corruption cover-up scandal.
Oh, absolutely. I love the sound of all that. So, Kash Patel, what do you think you should do to reform the FBI?
What do you do about the FBI? What does President Trump, or what should he do about the FBI when he gets into office? Because I gotta believe these agents, many of them are dug in deep.
Look, one of my biggest personal recommendations is you shut down the FBI headquarters building and open it up the next day as the Museum of the Deep State. And you send those 7,000 agents in the headquarters building downrange to chase down rapists, to chase down murderers, to chase down drug traffickers, and let the cops be cops on the streets across America. You keep a small contingent in Washington, D.C. That's step one. You get rid of half of the legion of lawyers and special counsels that exist within the FBI to do one thing, to corrupt and obstruct government oversight from constitutionally applicable committees in Congress. And another aspect of it real quick is one of the biggest institutions in the FBI that has been troubled and politicized and weaponized has been their intel component. We have an intel agency. I don't need it to be redone within the walls of the FBI. We've shown when we've given them that power what they do to it. They unlawfully surveil a president and his candidate. So those are three quick things that we could rattle off. That would be my recommendation to reform the FBI. There's many more.
Oh, my goodness. Are you getting excited yet? Look, I had a good legal question that was just asked to me by the last caller. I'm going to ask an attorney next. Eric Puente is going to be on the James Show. Does this mean Hunter Biden doesn't get Fifth Amendment protection in future investigations and testifying against himself and his father? Holy crap. I'm glad I'm having a lawyer on next to answer that. Stick around. It's the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, some great questions were brought up by you in the story about Hunter Biden getting pardoned here. If you have any more questions, 800-288-9227. Still the top story of the day. And I'm going to ask some of the questions that were asked by previous callers on the show today to my next guest, Eric Puentes, on the James Show. Now, listen, he's a lawyer by trade and quite a background, a local guy. Went to UNT, ended up getting one of his many degrees from UT in Austin, right? So you got to be happy about this weekend?
Oh, yeah.
I just thought I'd rub that into my Aggie listeners. So let's go ahead and get hit the ground running here. I was asked in the last segment, Eric, if since Hunter is pardoned, does that mean he loses Fifth Amendment protections in any case against his dad? You know, because he may be implicated in that. Can he be made to testify against his dad now?
So it depends. I mean, so the right to claim the Fifth Amendment is against oneself, right? So it doesn't extend to other individuals that he would have information about. So if he were to be brought into a court of law or brought into an investigation into allegations against other people, he could claim the Fifth Amendment again and protect his own interests and not be compelled to testify against himself. However, he would not be allowed to lie to a federal agent. That would be a crime in and of itself. And he would not be able to claim that privilege against self-incrimination for crimes that others have committed.
Okay, I got a question here on the Facebook Messenger that says this unconditional pardon over the last 11 years. So if we find out Hunter sold the nuclear codes to the Chinese or has 10 dead children in his crawl space, he can't be charged for that now.
So there's only one limitation that our Constitution gives to the president. The pardon power is very, very broad. Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1 of the United States Constitution provides that the president shall have power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment. So I don't think that there's any precedent for the question that you're asking. I don't think that there's any case that I'm familiar with where someone was given a pardon for such an egregious type of crime. But to answer your question, it's kind of hypothetical, right? If this is a broad pardon that the president has given his son, and if I would have to apply what I know to your question, yes. I mean, this pardon is covering something like that. The only exception here is cases of impeachment.
Wow. Yeah. And so the other nuance that comes from that constitutional line there, offenses against the United States, could he still be charged for state or local crimes?
Hunter Biden can absolutely be prosecuted by state and local jurisdictions. The President Biden has no power to pardon any of those types of offenses, only federal offenses.
But that takes off the board the stuff we really care about, the bribery or extortion or whatever was going on with the money changing hands from the foreign entities. I don't think a whole lot of people are concerned about pursuing him for the crack or the guns or even the prostitutes, really. So he's going to be cleared of the most egregious charges possible, it looks like.
Yeah, that is a power that the president has. The constitutional basis for that power is very broad. That's why when our founders were debating whether to give the sovereign, the president, the executive, this power, there was a lot of fight against this giving the president this power. And ultimately, Alexander Hamilton was the big advocate for granting this power to the president. And I think that the reason that he foresaw a need for giving this power to a president would be for in times of insurrections, times of after the Civil War, when it's time to do a reconciliation of all of the Southern generals and presidents that existed after the Civil War. There were times where he contemplated, I believe, that it would be appropriate to pardon such people in order to mend the fences and move on as a nation and carry on and go forward.
Yeah, and the other question I had answered was, has there ever been anyone that was pardoned for a crime they hadn't been charged with that's in a similar situation similar than this? And that applies to Nixon. He was never indicted or actually charged with any crimes, but Gerald Ford was able to write him out of trouble. Is that the closest comparison we have?
In modern times, yes. I would say that would be a perfect example. In that situation, President Ford said, you know what, we need to move on as a country. We want to put this Watergate stuff behind us. I'm going to give a pardon to Nixon, even though he wasn't really charged with anything illegal at the time. I'm going to give them this broad pardon so that he is not prosecuted or charged, and we can move on as a country.
Yeah. What am I not asking? What as a lawyer do you see in this pardon that the layman doesn't see?
Well, I think that, when I first learned of the presidential pardon, I think that the fear is that
what will happen in a Trump under a Trump DOJ. If the thought was that my initial thought was, well, I think that if Vice President Harris had won the election, I don't think that this pardon would have gone down. However, I think that the fear is retribution, political, politicization or weaponization of the DOJ. I don't think that that's something that President Biden was willing to even be. At some point, he's not going to be around. At some point, he's not going to be around to help defend his son. And I think that what he feared most was prosecutions for other offenses that might have occurred from 2014 to 2024, and he just completely took that off the table. And there's nothing that the Constitution grants Congress or even the Supreme Court the ability to remedy or give a checks and balances here.
All right, Eric, I only got 30 seconds. One more question, though. Why do you think he did it now and he didn't wait until like January 19th or 20th, as is the normal custom?
Sentencing. Sentencing would have been before January 19th. So I believe that Hunter Biden was up for sentencing pretty soon. This takes that off the table.
All right. Great answers. PuenteLawFirm.com if you want to find him. Eric Puente, I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, he's got a cute little office down there in the Bishop Arts District. Check him out, PuenteLawOffice.com. And that's great. I like it when I had a question in the previous segment, and then I got to ask my lawyer guest in the next segment. Great timing on that one. If you have any more questions, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. If you want to be a part of the show, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. BlessedBeTheFruit.org is your home for Project 2025 implementation. Remember, ladies, after the inauguration, if you're a single woman of childbearing age, you must register for selective service with our National Christian Uterine Database. You'll be able to use your registration card for discounts on fun things like Meow Mix, Chick-fil-A, and kitchen utensils. Also, hair clippers got added to that list over the weekend. So, if you're going to shave your head and be a part of the 4B movement and swear off promiscuous sex, go ahead, register today at blessedbethefruit.org. Your thoughts on Joe Biden pardoning Hunter? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Getting ahead of myself here. Because I think we all know that Joe Biden's not really pardoning Hunter. Joe, I'm just so in decline about my thoughts on this guy over the last, really just year. It's fallen off a cliff. Because Grant Stinchfield was making a good point. Joe Biden does not really care about Hunter. If you had a crack-addicted son who was having all kinds of addiction problems and promiscuity problems and hookers and drugs and crack and getting kicked out of the Navy, and this is just the stuff we know about. God knows how many things got swept under the rug. He drove his car into a building or something, we never heard about it. No, Joe Biden's pardoning himself. If he really cared about his son, he wouldn't get him to go be the bag man for all these terrible people on the other side of the planet. He wouldn't be wrapping him up into a bribery scheme. Even if I was a corrupt dude who had my own bribery scheme, I wouldn't get I have 4 kids. I wouldn't get them involved in it. That would so defeat the purpose. What am I going to do? If do this big bribery scheme, get millions of dollars? I'm doing this to pass it off to my kids. What good does that do if they go to jail? Kind of defeats the purpose. I don't even really mind if I go to jail if my kids can get millions of dollars out of it. But even though he only has like a scant few years left to live, he's fine throwing his kid out to the wolves like that and getting him wrapped up in this. And look, I mean, my brain just has been churning over the years on what's going on with the Biden crime family. Because my original theory is that Beau Biden was the good son, and he didn't really pay much attention to Hunter because he didn't need Hunter. Hunter didn't have to get rolled up into these schemes until 2014. Now, what happened right before that? Beau Biden, the good son, passed away. I'm not celebrating that. It's terrible. But I think Beau Biden was handling he was the bag man before Hunter was. And so Joe Biden, when he lost his son, his first son, who was getting away with it because he actually wasn't a crackhead. He actually has a brain on him. He actually finished law school and went through the military without getting kicked out for snorting coke. When that guy went away, Joe Biden could have said, well, I've made enough money. I've done enough grift. It was a good run there. I better quit because if I get Hunter rolled up into this, it's not going to end well. No, he took his chances and threw Hunter into that. No, he doesn't care about his kid. This is terrible. But let me go ahead and throw out there, if we're going to see this dude get pardoned, I'm going to be a little optimistic about it. I think no one gets to complain now when the January 6ers get their pardons. And I hope they all do. Because I don't know any January 6er who did what Hunter did, whose crimes on January 6th were half of what Hunter just got away with yesterday. No one in the media gets to complain either. And the media, I mean, how many times do you guys have to be wrong about the biggest stories of the day before you start to question your worldview? How many times do they have to get it completely wrong before the rest of America sees what you see and turns all that crap off? I know MSNBC's ratings are down. I know CNN's ratings are not stellar. I know The View, they still get millions, though. They're still the mainstream, whether you like it or not. It's still the mainstream of thought when it comes to most of our institutions, whether it's art, whether it's music, whether it's movies, whether it's TV shows, whether it's the academics who are teaching all of our kids in college on anything that can be political. Notice how when you look at the surveys of professors, it's not the engineering professors that are on Team Blue. It's not the computer science professors that are on Team Blue. It's definitely not the theology professors that are on Team Blue. It's all these humanities, these subjective topics like literature, not where 2 + 2 = 4, but how do you feel about Beowulf? Though that's where the Team Blue comes from. But how many times do they have to get it wrong? The general public, hasn't the media lied to you? They would say, well, he's not going to pardon. I'm not playing it again because it's like 3 minutes, but I was playing everyone in the media. Even when someone would come up and be like, well, yeah, he's going to pardon Hunter. No, he stated on the record several times that he's not going to pardon Hunter. Well, we know he is. Nope, they were wrong again. They were wrong, just like they were wrong about Biden not being in mental decline these last few years. Just like they were wrong about Biden won't be replaced as the candidate. Just like you were right and they were wrong when they were saying, hey, these videos that show Biden glitching out, like your AOL connection in 1998, those are cheap fakes. They were wrong. You were right. You were right when you thought inflation's not going to be transitory, and they told you it was. They were wrong when they told you the vaccine works. They were wrong when they told you masks worked, when social distancing works. In fact, there was another report that just came. Was that today or yesterday? I think it was yesterday. Like the last final congressional report on the investigation now confirms this stuff. Social distancing did nothing. Masking did nothing. The vaccine did nothing. They were wrong about, all the stories, the biggest stories of the last 8-10 years. All lies. The P-tapes, lies. Russian collusion, lies. Hunter's laptop being a Russian plant, lie. Donald Trump called both sides very fine people, neo-Nazis very fine people, lie. Kids in cages, lie. Covington High School kids harassing a Native American Vietnam vet at the Lincoln Memorial, lie. That manly Olympic boxer that was beating the crap out of all those women at the Olympics, lie. That was a dude. They get everything wrong. Who believes these people for 5 seconds? David, Fort Worth, you're on WBAP. Your thoughts on Hunter's pardon?
Yeah, I personally, I can't stand President Biden and his presidency. I support Trump 100%. But as a father, I look at it as if I had a son and he was not being, going to be convicted of something like murder or something like that. Just as a father, I can see me, protecting my son, doing something, giving him a pardon for something like that. But I think there's more to it, obviously, than what's going on, than this. But
part of me feels sympathetic. Part of me feels sympathetic, but part of me also understands that, if my kid had a drug problem, I wouldn't pardon him. I'd let him go to jail for a little bit and clean up. If my kid was acting wrong, I would let him hit the consequences of his actions. If he murdered someone, I would let him go to jail for the rest of his life. He deserves it. I think that's the right thing to do. I as a father, I kind of feel the emotion of wanting to pardon your son, but I don't think I would have done what he did in this situation. And I think this says more about Joe Biden trying to cover for his own butt than him caring about Hunter.
True, definitely.
Okay, so we agree on that. Fantastic. All right, I appreciate that. Coming up next, we're going to play the easier of the James Show game shows. Dead or Alive for Sammy Hagar tickets. If you want to play Dead or Alive for tickets to see Sammy Hagar, 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Dead or Alive, the James edition, coming up next on The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.